So I wanted to start the class off with Professor Weinstein and I responding to the chat after we saw the movie on the Erie Canal. And Pedro, you had the first comment. You want to sort of tell us what you found interesting in that movie, in that video?
What I found interesting and questioned was like how I believe it was Hamilton or somewhere else. Clinton, yes. How Clinton was able to convince bankers and stuff to like convince them they're making money by making this 360-mile ditch across the, you know.
In other words, how did he sell it? How did he sell it to the bankers so that they would give the $5 million to dig a 360-mile ditch that had never been done before?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, that's why I was wondering how he did it.
Yeah, Weinstein, you got any thoughts?
Very persuasive.
Yeah, and what else? What else?
Well, we could speculate. You know, he was a mover and a shaker. He was a real politician. So he convinced these bankers that it was in their best interests financially to go ahead. I mean, he couldn't prove that the canal would be successful, but he could lay out his ideas about what would happen if it did work and what the benefits would be.
Well, I would add 2 or 3 things to what Professor Weinstein is saying. Number one, I think that Clinton was very Hamiltonian, and everybody in this class knows what I'm referring to, in that he basically said you can trust government to pay back if we give you a piece of paper that says not only will we pay you back, but we'll pay you back with interest. So I think he was, number one, he was picking up on Hamilton. Number 2, I think as Professor Weinstein's saying, he was really very good at public relations. He held rallies, he had petitions, he used the newspapers. So he was very good at PR, at developing sort of a feeling that, hey, you know, if we get involved in this, we'll get paid back. And I think 3, and as I've taught you in this class, you only need 3 examples. The third example, and Stephen, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think I'm right, that as soon as he could, he started to open up sections of the canal. He didn't wait. In other words, although the canal, I think they start building it in 1817, and as they complete certain sections, they open it up and they're charging tolls. I mean, people on the boats, you know, who are using the canal are paying tolls. And so they start collecting money immediately from tolls, like you pay tolls on a highway. The New York State Thruway is a good example of that. Well, the tolls in the New York State Thruway are really the example of taking from the Erie Canal, that the tolls will pay for the building of the canal, and he was collecting tolls and immediately started to pay interest to the bankers. And so word spread, now I'm speculating, word spread that this is a pretty good investment. We're getting paid, you know, we're getting paid our interest right away, and word of mouth was very supportive. And that in fact, I think it's true, I think it was in the video, by the time the canal opens, I think they have basically raised enough money, they've raised the $5 million. Weinstein, you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I recall that also. And much like any highway, it doesn't open in its entirety all at once. It opens in stages. So yes, he could charge a toll and literally show the profits that were coming in from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And just as a postscript, it was so successful that additional canals were built throughout New York State based on the tolls received from the Erie Canal.
And there's something in history called the Canal Craze, which actually comes out of this. And so once the Erie Canal is finished in 1825, from 1825 to the Civil War, everybody's building canals. I mean, not just in New York State, all over they're building canals because they say, oh my gosh, they made all this money in New York. Maybe we can make money too. And so you see canals being built everywhere because it's so profitable. But in fact, I think only the Erie Canal made money. The rest of them didn't make that kind of money at the Erie Canal. Is that right, Stephen? Am I?
Well, I would, I'm not sure, but I would venture a guess, yes, because it was so much longer.
Yeah. Right here, I'm sitting right here about 200 feet from a canal. The Delaware and Hudson Canal, the D&H Canal, runs right by my house up here in the Catskills and connected the Delaware River to the Hudson River and brought coal and all of these products. And that was built based on the profits and the reputation, Pedro, of the Erie Canal. We gave you a very long answer, but how'd we do?
You did good.
Okay. All right. The next question, don't think Carmela is here yet. So the next question, the next comment is from Arbaz. Arbaz, what was your reaction to the video on the Erie Canal?
Oh, I looked online and I researched that apparently it was built by amateurs. These people didn't have a lot of experience. And of course, based on the time period, they didn't have the modern technology that we have now. So I thought that was quite interesting that within 7 years, they barely paid these people too, only 50 cents to $1 around there. So the fact that they were able to build it in that short amount of time with not that many resources, I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Lisa, you want to jump in on that in terms of the building of the canal?
Yeah, skilled craftsmen must have been at a premium, actually. And they probably didn't have the money to pay anything more than they did pay. Labor was cheap. I think there was a surplus of labor then. And I suppose it was learn on the job.
And you know what has always struck me about the Erie Canal is that, correct me if I'm wrong, but does this predate dynamite? Do they not have dynamite?
No dynamite yet, because
No
Nobel
dynamite
was
yet.
much later.
What's that?
Nobel was much later. Nobel.
All right, so Arbaz, think of this. There's no dynamite. Everything is by sweat. Everything is by picks and axes and shovels. Unbelievable. They built 363 miles, or 365 miles, through mountains, through valleys, just digging it by hand. Unbelievable. And paying, is it 50 cents a day, 50 cents an hour? What is this 50 cents?
50 cents to $1 a day. And apparently there were also a lot of children working on it as well. So that just makes it even more insane. Yeah, I would say. It's pretty crazy.
All right, let me pick up on that. And you may want to look this up on the internet. So let's just say it's 50 cents a day, right? Find out if you can, and I'm sure Weinstein and I are going to do this too. Some reference to cost of living. In other words, what did it cost to buy milk? What did it cost to pay rent? What did it cost to buy a pair of shoes? Take a look for 1820, let's say, and maybe, I don't know, Sears Roebuck. I don't know if Sears Roebuck was even in business then, but maybe they weren't in business. But see if we can find some items so we compare the cost of living. For example, we say 50 cents a day was crazy, but what if rent, I'm going to make this up, what if rent was $10 a month? You know, and all of a sudden 50 cents a day gets a little more reasonable. Do you see where I'm going with this, Arbaz?
Yes, I understand. Mm-hmm.
So, you know, when we look back in time and we say 50 cents a day, we go, oh my God, that's so cheap. But we got to also look back in time in terms of what did it cost to live? Look at the rent we pay today. I mean, unbelievable, right? I mean, people are paying thousands of dollars to rent places. And they weren't then. Stephen, you want to jump in on that?
Excuse me. Before we go on, what year were we talking about?
We're talking about the period 1817 to 1825. You with me?
Yes. I would again, 50 cents a day, even if the products were not expensive. I just can't believe that was a lot of money. They were very
all right. We'll have to check.
Barely enough to live on.
Okay. Jason,
They
are you
did have
there?
to work at least 6 days in a week, maybe even 7 days.
All right, let me tell you something. All right, you're gonna like this. In 1967, right? I graduate college. $2.50 an hour, $2.50 an hour was considered a very good wage by my friends. If you were making $2.50 an hour, meaning times 8 or times 40, that would be like what, $100 a week, right? So among me and my friends, and when I graduated college, I just said, if you made $100 a week, you were doing very well. You're shaking your head. You remember that?
Yeah, because I remember what my parents were earning then. And yeah, maybe $5,000 to $7,000 a year.
Yeah. And rent in 1967, my first apartment, my rent, I paid, I had a roommate, I paid $37 a month. We each paid $37 a month. So Arbaz, you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, there's inflation and then other factors to be involved.
Okay, that's where I'm going. But I feel what you feel, that the amazement of how they built that canal. It was built by hand. It was hand built. There's no machines involved. There's no bulldozers involved. There's no dynamite involved. That blows your mind, right?
Yep, I would say so.
Woo! All right. Who's that?
It's me, Christian.
Yeah, go.
In 1870, a gallon of milk would cost $1.02.
That's 1870 or 1817?
1870.
Yeah, go back 50 years, because we're talking about a time period 1817 to 1825. So now travel back on your Googling search, and I love that you're doing this. Go back to the 1820s and it'll be better for us, okay?
Professor, that's fine.
All right. Jason, are you there? Jason?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
All right, so tell us, what was your reaction to the video about the canal?
Since so you know how the video was saying how New Orleans was gonna be like, it should have been the big city, you know, because it's just the water systems and everything. It's interesting how New York just made its own, and it became one of the biggest business cities. Well, is one of the biggest business cities out here today.
Yeah, do you remember how New York did it? I mean, it was amazing, right?
Yeah, like man-made canal, like what?
Yeah. I mean, New York basically said, okay, New Orleans, you've got the Mississippi. Let's see, what are we going to do? I know, we'll build a river that basically outruns you. We'll connect the whole country this way, and you just sit there and watch us take everything. I mean, it's like, it's so New York, right?
Yeah, because literally, I feel like you just stole a bunch of business, money, and everything that could have went to New Orleans, but hey, it's here now.
What's the movie I'm thinking of? It's about oil, and there's this great line where he says, I'm gonna build a straw and suck all the oil out from your. Do you know that movie? Oh, I forget the movie, but it was a great movie. It has the same thing. Basically, I'm gonna come in and take everything from you by building my own canal, by building my own route. And let me just, Jason, I'm gonna add something to this. And Stephen, I want you to comment on it. I think this is the beginning of the Civil War. I think this is where the Civil War begins. I think this is where, we live in a world now where we say there's a North and a South. But by building the Erie Canal, what you do is you create an economy that runs this way, that runs horizontally. If the Erie Canal had never existed, the nation would have been tied together by the Mississippi, and you wouldn't have the division of a North and a South. Weinstein, what do you think?
I'm not so sure about that.
Go ahead. Where's the
I don't know. It just seems a little far-fetched to me.
But you like the
because the North did have plenty of trade with the South through New York, anyhow.
It's great.
But it's hypothetical. I don't know.
Yeah.
Actually.
It's the Lieberman thesis, right?
Yeah, it's possible.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That New York City stays connected to the South and it profits from the Erie Canal. New York has it both ways. Unbelievable, right? We get it both ways in here. Jason, you also said something about being impressed by the bankers. Like, tell me what you were impressed by there. That they trusted Clinton and they gave their money.
Okay. What I found interesting was since many bankers didn't like for a banker to really believe in you, you must have a really good idea. And the fact that they supported that idea, I found that really interesting because that they knew that it was gonna build profits. And I like how I think they were talking about how even in the process of it being built, they were getting money while building it. And that's good business, you know?
Yeah, yeah, but I would add that I always see bankers as gamblers, you know? All of this stuff comes in and people asking them for money for their businesses and they take risks, they take chances. And with the Erie Canal, it paid off, right? But I just always have
Yeah,
seen
big time.
bankers at big time, right. Ivan, are you there?
Yes, Professor.
Can I get a wave hello? I haven't waved hello to you. There you are.
Hello.
Good to see you. So tell me about your reaction to the video we saw, this amazing feat.
Oh, kind of in line with what we've been saying. It's just amazing the time period and the technology available, how they were able to create such a great canal.
You think we could do it today?
I think it would take longer today, honestly, because of all the zoning laws and all the permits and stuff you need to get and all the loopholes you have to go through, and there's more people now, so you would be displacing people at some point.
Yeah.
I think it will take longer to do it today.
So here's an interesting thing, that even though the Erie Canal was built by hand and we have all this technology today, we have all the machines today, right? What you're saying, and I agree with, is that it would take longer.
Yeah.
Wow. Stephen,
Just think of how long it's taken to complete the New York City water tunnel number 3.
Or how long they've been trying to fix the Van Wyck. Or the
never.
BQE.
It'll never get done.
Never.
It's permanent. Yeah, you're right. The Van Wyck, it's impossible.
Yeah, whoever has that contract though is really milking it.
So basically we marvel at the fact that they could build this amazing canal in 7 years with no cost overruns, and the bankers made money. So we can look back at the past and say, all right, we've got all these machines, we've got dynamite, we've got all this stuff, right? And yet they did it better.
Mm-hmm.
Woo, that's a statement. I feel that way about computers, by the way. I don't think they've saved us any time. I don't know. I mean, they have certainly said, they promised us a paperless society. That's just not true, right? But I have my doubts about whether things have speeded up because of the computer, but that's for another talk. But I think it's an interesting thesis.
I mean, I see what you're saying. I think they have, but they've also at the same time made so many people lazier. I think that's where you're going. But obviously for other things, for math, for sciences, they've obviously accelerated our progress. But in terms of like the populace, I think, yeah, we as a society, we've not much moved forward as where we were before computers.
Well,
I think we were more innovative back then. Now we're just like drones, I guess, you know?
Yeah, well, it links to the Erie Canal and your original statement about we marvel at the Erie Canal built in 7 years without machines, and we couldn't do it today. Whoa. Stephen, you want to say anything on that?
You hear this so many times, like with the Empire State Building, it took less than a year or a year and a half. The original Yankee Stadium took less than a year. And now it takes 3 to 4 years to build such a project.
Yeah.
It's ironic. It's a paradox.
Yeah, yeah. Saima, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
So tell us your reaction to the video about New York is the economic capital. What was your reaction to the video?
Well, just like every time I take a class, I'm always in awe about like what the city, like how the city was formed and anything. It's just nothing. It's just I don't know. I just really like the city.
and
No,
this
it's crazy how they could make something like this. It's really, really insane to me.
right. So what I'm giving you is a detail to support that awe, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That a piece of detail in conversation with friends and family. When you say you're in awe of New York and its history and its present and its past, you could say, for example, the Erie Canal. Right?
Yeah. For example.
Right. And that's what I'm teaching. That in the writing and in discussion, giving an example makes it so powerful. And if you can give somebody a sentence that they'll just look and say, whoa, are you smart? Thank you. Tiffany.
No problem.
Tiffany, hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, tell us about your reaction to the Erie Canal and industrialization and cost and time. Give us, what was your reaction to the video?
I think I mentioned something about how it kind of was like the beginning of industrialization.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
How it I believe in the film it mentioned how it decreased the cost of products or like exporting or something of that nature.
Yeah. I mean, I forget the numbers. It was something like it cost $100 to bring a barrel of rum or whiskey or straw or corn. It cost $100 to bring it from Buffalo to New York, and now it was $10. I'm making up the numbers, but the numbers are there. Or it took 3 months and it cut it down to 1 week. I mean, it was unbelievable what they were able to do. But how do you see that linking to industrialization? That's my question.
Because it started like the whole trade and basically like providing service, which then in turn provided products to be shipped around the country.
Yeah. And let me just add one thing to this, what you're thinking about. The doorway for industrialization, either going to the whole country or the resources leaving the country and going to Europe, the doorway was New York City. You get where I'm going?
Yeah, and I find that kind of ironic because today there's not really much that New York produces.
Right, but do you think we're still the doorway, let's say, not before COVID, but the doorway for coming to the United States for people traffic?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Carmela's not here to talk about California, but I think New York sort of kept that feel of you see New York first and then you see the rest of the country. Foreign ambassadors, when they're on their way to Washington, they come to the UN, they come to New York, they're greeted by the mayor, right, of New York, and then they're greeted by the president, right? Stephen, you're smiling. You want to add to that?
I'm laughing at that, but I was also thinking of how the Erie Canal indirectly changed the New York agricultural products or production, because prior to that, Long Island, which means Brooklyn, Queens, and further east, were producing the same items that were being produced in the Middle West: grains, corn, wheat, but could no longer compete with the Middle West because of size and variety. So it switched to a more local produce that would then be sold to people living in New York and Brooklyn to eat. So it changed the whole agricultural economy.
What are you thinking of? What's the example you're thinking of in terms of what products Brooklyn and Queens turned to? Because
tomatoes, Tomatoes, lettuce, asparagus, foods that people could eat directly.
All right, let me just add to that. I think it's also foods that if you brought it on the Erie Canal would spoil. I mean, even though it was faster, even though the Erie Canal, let's say cut it down from 30 days to I'll make it up to 5 days, there were still certain products that would spoil, that needed to be consumed within a day or two, right? And I think that's the market. What I'm thinking of is flowers, right? You have this whole fresh flower market that develops in Queens, right? And to this day, you see a lot of florists, but that's a whole other story. But I think there are certain products. Milk is another good example, by the way. That New York, that Queens and Brooklyn turned to other immediate products, right? I mean, later on, it's bread and stuff like that. Did somebody want to say something?
I said cheese.
Cheese. I love it. Yes. Atta, you there?
Yes,
Atta,
Professor.
you had a reaction about Clinton. Tell me about what you thought about Clinton. He was so smart. Tell us.
To be honest, Professor, I actually forgot what I wrote.
I'll read it to you, and then you can develop it. Clinton was smart in how he turned a ditch into money-making scheme and gained investors and promised them money. Okay, those are your words. Tell us the Atta thoughts on your own words.
Give me 1 second. I gotta figure this out before I sound like an idiot.
All right, you wait. I'll go to somebody else and I'll come back to you. Okay.
Okay.
Narissa, you there?
Here, Professor.
Okay. Do you remember your reaction to the video?
Yes, I remember my reaction.
Tell us.
I think that it was interesting that this sport sort of transformed New York into like the economic capital of the United States. Because like I remember in an earlier class, you mentioned that New York ranked second to Philadelphia. And I'm assuming that because of this canal, New York might have gained like a supremacy in trade and sort of surpassed Philadelphia, if I'm correct.
Left it in the dust.
So I thought that was really interesting.
Yes. And does Philadelphia try to build a canal or try to compete with New York in terms of, Stephen, do you know anything about this in terms of what Narissa's saying, that here we are surpassing Philadelphia? Do the bankers and people of Philadelphia say, wait a minute, we better build a canal too?
Well, they tried. They had canals, but they built the turnpike to Pittsburgh. That was their opening to the west.
So they built a roadway.
Yeah, but I think the coal mining area in northeast Pennsylvania, the canals would have connected their coal product down to Philadelphia.
Yeah. The problem that Philadelphia faced and in its development was that it was not on the ocean. In New York, if you think about where New York is located, we have an amazing port because it's protected. I wish I had a map in front of me. It's protected. If you think about the East River and the Hudson, it's protected from the ocean. But then very quickly, you go down under the Verrazano, and you're there. You're on the ocean. You're on the Atlantic. You're on your way to Europe really quickly. And this gives New York a tremendous advantage. And so I'd like to add that in terms of, New York becoming an economic hub. We also had an amazing port. And the depth of the Hudson River. The Hudson River, first of all, it's not a river, it's a fjord. And it's created, whoa, look at this. I'm getting a map. Who did that?
Oleg.
Okay, you're wonderful. You see what I'm talking about. You see the Hudson and the East River coming down, and all of a sudden you go under the Verrazano. You're out there. You're on the Atlantic, and the Hudson River is so deep because it was created by glacier. We still don't know the depths of the Hudson River, so you could bring in big boats. With Philly, to get to Philadelphia, you got to go all the way up to Chesapeake. I mean, forget it. And the Chesapeake isn't that deep. So Philadelphia has tremendous problems with its port. Even if they built a canal, they still would have problems competing with New York getting its products, out to Europe. I mean, New York is just a perfect port. Stephen, you want to add to that?
Well, I don't want to go a little too far off the point, but also the origin of regularly scheduled shipping between New York and England, the packet ships. This was around, I think, 1818 or something close to that. This is unprecedented, so merchants could rely on guaranteed shipping, not
Right.
when a boat became full.
Right. This adds to this, what Narissa is talking about in terms of becoming an economic capital, because New Yorkers were willing to take risks. So they create what the first line, the blackball line, which basically says we'll have a schedule. This boat will leave for Liverpool Monday at 1 o'clock. Before that, boats would leave when they were full. New York said, no, we'll have regular sailing. We'll have regular sailings out of New York. And this was very popular because you could say to your customer, you'll get the rum, you'll get the wheat in 2 weeks, and you could guarantee delivery. So it's very important, the risk taking that New York capitalized on. Christian, are you there?
Yes.
So tell us your reaction to the video. New York was more popular than the United States. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, there were so many visits to New York than to the actual United States because people preferred to come to New York due to the point that there was so much attraction calling the people's attention instead of going to anywhere else in New York.
So I'm going to push you on detail like I do in the writing. What was attracting people to New York? Well, you talk about an attraction that made New York City so alluring, so popular. What was the attraction? Simple answer. Still true today.
Skyscrapers.
Huh? What'd you say?
The skyscraper?
Well, excitement. I would replace skyscraper with that. It became a very exciting town, filled with energy, filled with bustle, filled with risk takers. And I would add, people believe to this day, you come to New York, you can make some money. And it's always been the attraction of New York. If you interview your grandparents or your parents and ask them, why did they come to New York? They're going to tell you, well, I thought we'd do better. We would do better in terms of our living and our income. And I would say that most people are lured to New York by the belief. I'm not saying it's true, but certainly by the belief that they're going to do better. Stephen, you want to jump in on that? How'd I do?
Oh, it's clear. It's the opportunity to make money.
Yeah.
Have a better life.
And the Erie Canal is just the beginning. The Erie Canal is just the beginning. Atta, can we come back to you?
Yes, Professor.
Did you have time to think about Clinton and why he was so smart and in his money-making scheme and he gained investors? Have you given it more thought?
Yeah, so basically the Erie Canal gave direct access, well, I think it was direct water access to the Midwest regions and surrounding regions, which made, shipping and selling crops cheaper. And it basically became an epicenter in the capital of economic, New York became an epicenter, and Clinton cashed on that like a cash cow. He made sure that he benefits from it and investors poured into it.
And do you think he used that, going back to some of the other questions and what Weinstein was saying in terms of public relations, that even before the canal opened, and this is, we're guessing, that he actually said to people, this is going to be the future? Do you think he used that, what you're saying, which became true, but do you think he used that as a selling point?
I think he would have used every tool in his kit to make sure that it goes through.
I think so. Stephen, what do you think?
Definitely. Yeah.
All right, Carmela, you've joined us. But we're talking about the video about the Erie Canal. Does anybody else want to say anything about the video before we move on to the Steamboat?
The one from Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm listening.
Anybody else have any more comments about it? The video before? Yes.
Professor,
Atta?
Yeah, so I actually work in construction EMS, so I actually get to see construction firsthand. And like you said, the Erie Canal was built out of hand basically, and they didn't have any mechanical technology advancements or even OSHA, which gets to govern what we do today. And trust me, I see it on a daily basis. We get to do one floor and it takes days, months. We haven't finished. And every day there's some new zoning issue, some new building issue. We get Department of Building coming through. This building was supposed to be done 8 months ago. They pushed it to 2 years now. And I think this gets to go on further and further. And you get people come in as OSHA inspectors. They try to get it done. They push in for more overtime hours. And back then, I'm assuming there weren't overtime hours. They had a certain plan and they would stick to it and do that job and go home.
All right, Atta, do us a favor. Talk to 3 workers and tell them what you just learned about the Erie Canal and get their reaction. Write down, quote, their reaction, send it to me, okay? I'll send it to the class.
All right.
All right, we'll do an unscientific survey, totally unscientific, but it gets back to what we were talking to Ivan about. Just pick at random, or people you trust, or people you're friendly with, or people who talk to you. Just any 3 people, and tell them what you just learned about the Erie Canal, and ask them their reaction just as current day workers, and quote them. Give me, write it down exactly what they say and send it to me, okay?
Will do, Professor.
I love to have that. I'd love to have that. But I'm using that also for the rest of you in your writing, is that you can say all of this, what Atta said and what Ivan said and what I said, but then to have quotes from primary sources makes it pretty impressive. Stephen, you want to jump in on that?
No, for sure. No, nothing to add. I'd like to move on to the other questions we have.
You want to move on? Okay, everybody ready to move to the Steamboat? Woo-woo. Okay, I want to introduce this. We've got 15 minutes left to the class, so we'll do one question, I think. It was after class or the end of class, Professor Weinstein said something very important to me about the Erie Canal, and I'll turn it over to you, Stephen Weinstein, for what you said and why we're doing this.
There are several questions, including Fulton. I made a mistake. He did not invent the steamboat. He was not the first person. So there were people before him, but the question then becomes, how did Fulton succeed where others failed before him? And what did he do to succeed? As well as, okay, one quick answer is his relationship with Livingston, Robert R. Livingston.
But Stephen, let me stop you. You're getting ahead of yourself. You asked me an initial question before we even got to this about the Erie Canal and the steamboat, and it was brilliant. Go back to that.
I don't have that question in front of me. If you have it.
But just from our conversation, what you said to me about the steamboat in its relation to the Erie Canal. You remember it?
Yes, well, that without the steamboat, the Erie Canal might not have had the value, clearly, that it then had when it was opened. That It was a requirement to have a steamboat so that shipping could go in 2 directions.
I want you to say it again so students can write it down and quote you, because this is so important, and it was so important to me when I heard it. So slowly, tell the class again your statement to me about the connection between the invention of the steamboat and the importance of the Erie Canal, because it's brilliant. Go.
Okay, steamboats enabled traffic to go in 2 directions on any river. Prior to this, boats could only go downriver, downstream, which meant north to south in the United States and perhaps west to east, but the other direction became impassable. So without a steamboat enabling bi-directional travel, the Erie Canal would have had very little value. So I was going to say the Erie Canal was therefore dependent upon the creation of the steamboat.
And so just to push you a little bit, so all these goods come through the Erie Canal, they end up in Albany, right? There they are in Albany, right? On the Hudson River, right? And they come down to New York, to the ports, right? Whether it be wheat or grain or corn, right? Now you've got products that are coming in from Europe, manufactured goods that need to go up the Hudson and the other way on the Erie Canal, right?
Yes.
So what's the problem they face if you didn't have a steamboat?
Well, there would be no way to get products from New York City up to Albany.
And I'm going to add to that, the Hudson River is a tidal river. The Hudson River up till I'm going to say beyond the George Washington Bridge is affected by the Atlantic Ocean. And the tide comes in, you can see it during the winter with the ice flowing both ways. And there's a song, The River That Flows Both Ways. And so the battle, the tide alone on a sailboat, on a rowboat, forget about it. So your summary statement about the steamboat, I'm going to quote you and say that according to Professor Weinstein, tell me if I'm wrong, that without the steamboat, I'm not sure the Erie Canal would have been so successful, and whether those bankers would have made so much money, and whether we'd be praising Governor Clinton. What do you think about my paraphrasing you?
I would stand by it.
Anybody have a reaction to what they just heard from me and Weinstein about the relation of the steamboat to the Erie Canal? All right, anybody want to react to what Weinstein and I are saying about the relation of the steamboat to the Erie Canal and the importance of the steamboat? Okay.
It's okay, now it seems obvious.
Everybody get it down in writing so they can use it in answering their questions, please.
Can we repeat it so I can get it down?
Yes, does somebody want to repeat it? Let's see, who would like to repeat it?
I'm here, Professor.
All right, you want to summarize for Carmela and the others what Lieberman and Weinstein are so excited about in terms of the steamboat?
I think we said that this steamboat kind of enabled traffic to go in like two directions, and without the Erie Canal, without the steamboat, the Erie Canal would not have been as successful as it is. So the Erie Canal was kind of dependent on steamboats.
Exactly, because how are you going to get all those products to go against the tide and to go against the current of a river? It's going to take forever if you try to sail or a rowboat. So the steamboat really enables that traffic to occur in both directions. Carmela, did you get it? Or you're good?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Erie Canal, I'm gonna repeat it so I can really get it right. So the steamboat allowed traveling in both directions. So the Erie Canal basically relied on the steamboat to have any success in being a good port, right?
Yeah, you got it. Without the steamboat, good luck. Good luck in getting products the other way. Good luck. I mean, you can go down the river, but going up the river, not going to happen unless you have the steam. I mean, you're not going to row or sail against the tide. Forget it. It'd take you forever. All right, Weinstein, you ready for looking at one of the questions?
Yes.
All right. So, Oleg, could you put the questions on a share screen?
Yes. 1 second. This one?
Yes. Okay. Did everybody get these questions? You want to scroll up so we can see all 5 questions? More. Oh, you have an old one. Okay. So you have 4. That's okay. There's actually a new one which has 5 questions, and the 5th question is, how and why does the steamboat make the success of the Erie Canal possible? So you have an old one. Yeah, that's what I sent you, but then I sent the class a revised one. I'll send it to you again. Anyway, these are the questions plus a 5th one that you should all have. If you didn't get these questions, use the chat to send a message to me and Oleg that you need the questions, okay? Now, let's look at, Stephen, what if we look at question 2 instead of question 1 and do question 2 together? How do you feel about that?
That's fine.
All right. So, Oleg, we need to look at page 341 of handout 15A as a share screen.
Yeah.
Bless you, bless you, bless you.
Thank you.
All right, 341, Oleg, that's 334. So go, 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 go. Go to page 341.
So Professor, these questions are going to be answered by 15A?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, and in fact, we're going to go to page 341 right now for question 2. Oleg's scrolling up. I won't look because it makes me car sick. I don't know why, but I get motion sickness very. All right, are you there? No, 342. Go back to 341.
Now it's the bottom.
Huh? The bottom of
The bottom
340.
of the page.
All right, Robert Fulton. Okay, so all right, so everybody, we're looking at question 2. Describe in your own words, write an interesting story, almost a TV or movie script about how Livingston meets Fulton. And this is the background and really the partnership that creates the Steamboat. And Atta, are you there?
Yes, Professor.
All right, can you start reading Robert Fulton, a Pennsylvania-born Irish American?
All right. Robert Fulton, a Pennsylvania-born Irish American, had gone to London in 1786 to study painting, then switched to civil engineering. Fulton moved to Paris in 1797, drawn by the promise of government subsidies for technological development. He was working on a torpedo to blow up the English fleet when he met Livingston there in 1802.
Stop right there. Atta, did you have a reaction to what you just read?
I was about to say, that dude wanted to blow shit up.
I mean, I got to tell you, as a historian, when I read that, I said, what? he's in Paris to build a torpedo? Whoa, this is a movie. This is a script. Weissy, what was your reaction when you read it?
Science fiction. I don't know how many people could switch from painting to civil engineering also.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. Ivan, you ready to pick up on reading? After this, all right, we're in 1802. He's there developing a torpedo. Livingston was attracted.
Yeah.
Go.
Where is it when it says 1801?
At the bottom, the paragraph that starts with Robert Fulton, and it says Livingston was attracted.
Yeah, Robert Fulton, a Pennsylvania.
No, we read that already. Go down to the next to last sentence.
Livingston was attracted by Fulton's theoretical knowledge, practical experience, and access to prominent French scientists. He also dressed well and had the manners of
Oleg, scroll up. Go ahead.
A gentleman.
Go
Fulton,
ahead.
attracted by Livingston's money and influence, embraced the New Yorkers project, and in 1803 tried out an experimental steamboat on the Seine with great success. On the strength of this, an excited Livingston got his monopoly rights extended.
All right, so Ivan, put that in your own words. What happened? Had these two guys meet, and what happens after they meet? And why are they attracted to each other? But write it yourself, more like a movie or a TV show.
Yeah, well, he was attracted to his money, and the power, I guess, he had, and the influence he had. And he thought he can use that to further the project.
Right. And I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And then they made an experimental steamboat, and then it worked successfully.
Right. Right. On the Seine. So the whole development of the steamboat happens in Paris, not in New York. Interesting. Weissy, you want to give us some background on the strength of this? And excited Livingston got his monopoly rights extended. Can you give us a little background on that?
Yeah, because but I think it was in the late 1780s, Livingston got a monopoly on the right to operate a steamboat on the Hudson River. This is phenomenal, and he got it from Governor Clinton. So the two of them go back quite a ways.
Yeah, I think the state legislature gave him a monopoly.
But he couldn't produce. He kept trying because it was too. He lived, I think in the earlier page it mentions he wanted to go to his upstate home, and it was 110 miles up the Hudson, and it was too long and too hard by horseback. He wanted a faster way to get there. So he had the idea of a steamboat, but he finagled a monopoly out of the governor.
And then he meets Fulton in Paris. He's attracted to Fulton. He has the money. He has the monopoly. He has the state government behind him. And he says to Fulton, look, if you can develop, you're working on torpedoes, good. And if you can develop this steamboat, we can go into business. How am I doing?
Perfect.
Thank you. So to finish the class, we've got 1 minute. Weinstein, can you tell the class your theory about how Clinton and Fulton and Livingston were all in kind of cahoots? You have a thesis here, which I love, in terms of the background, in terms of building the Erie Canal, in terms of convincing bankers and how it all ties together. Lay out your thesis. It's wonderful.
It's a hypothesis. You know, I don't have proof, but yeah, like Livingston and Governor Clinton, they're compatriots. They come from the same upper class, and they have political connections. But yeah, basically the Elon Musk of his generation. I would agree with that.
Oleg, get rid of the share screen, please.
I suspect that, again, this is my hypothesis. Why did Livingston get a permanent, not a permanent, but get a monopoly to operate steamships on the Hudson River? Because Clinton wanted his financial backing. And for this or any other project that came along. I don't suppose Clinton was already thinking of the Erie Canal, but initially he thought, this is a man who can help me down the road.
Or down the river.
Down the river or up the river. So it worked out perfectly for Clinton. He gave away a monopoly that, of course, was later upended, but at least at the time he had it. And in exchange, he got the financing for his canal.
Yeah, Carmela, you want to finish us up and give us the movie or the TV show you're writing about Fulton and Clinton and the Erie Canal all coming together on the Seine in Paris?
Yeah, I mean, like, so he is basically Elon Musk. Like, he's got these crazy ideas, right? And he's like, I'm going to blow this shit up. And then he goes, and then they're like, wait, hold on. You're really smart. Let's work together so I can make money off of your ideas. Yeah. And then he's like, all right, I'm down. And then everyone's just in cahoots. They're like, we're going to do this for the money. And that's how the Erie Canal, came to be in the steamboat.
Now, let me make a closing statement. This is the fun of history. It's taking this information, it's taking the data, it's taking the secondary source in this case, and then as you heard, Weinstein and Carmela is then writing your opening statement and then going back to find more documents that support your story. If you want it as history, if you want it as a movie and a TV script, you're good to go.
I'd watch it.
I love it. Okay, everybody.
Yeah, I'd like to know what happened in Paris.
Right?
I'll see you on Tuesday, 1 o'clock. Enjoy the weekend. Bye.
Adios, Professor. Have a good weekend, Professor.
Take care.
Have a good weekend.
Be well. Stay healthy.
Sorry I was late. That's my bad.
All right. Always good to have you no matter what time you show up.
Thanks. Bye.
Take care.
Have a good weekend.
All right. Be well. Be well, everybody. Stay healthy. Rest.